Today in the Dad Bod workshop, we're going to rebuild the brake calipers for a Fiat X19 Series 1.5 1979 that we pulled out some time ago. We've now got the reseal kit and it's quite straightforward. We have a new seal for the bore, which goes down here. We have a new dust cover, which goes on the end of the piston and again just fits in that way. And then we'll put new brake pads in and a new bleeder valve. Let's get started. We've cleaned all the caliper up. The bore's nice and clean. The piston's cleaned up nicely as well. It's not damaged at all, so we can reuse that. First things first, we need to put the seal back into the caliper. So we've got ourselves some clean brake fluid here. And we just make sure we lubricate around the bore with brand new brake fluid and pop the seal in. So make sure the bore's nice and lubricated so that when the piston goes back in, it should slip in quite easily. And we'll put it all the way in. These seals, as you can see, are a square seal, so you have to make sure that when you put them in, they don't bend and twist like that, so that all the surfaces go in at the same angle. So we'll just pop that in and make it nice and lubricated with the brake fluid. It goes into the groove in the bore just down in here. Just make sure it doesn't twist on you and all the surfaces are in the way they're supposed to be. Okay, and it's just popped in. The seal's just in here. Next thing is the piston. We'll just lubricate around the end of the piston here for the dust cover. The way it goes on is there's rounded bits on the outside and gaps on the inside. That just sits in on there like that. Now there'll be a little bit of brake fluid actually in the cylinder now, in the caliper now. So we just have to make sure when we put it in gently, it doesn't come squirting out of the holes. So let's lubricate the piston. Lots of brake fluid. And it just slides in. Just nice and straight. And you'll feel some resistance as it goes past the seal. And it just pushes in. A little bit of effort. And then the seal, which is already lubricated, sits just in. Sometimes you need to get a bit of timber to help tap the piston in. You can feel the piston going all the way in. And then as you can see, once that's in, the seal just sits into the gap really easily like that. And that's the caliper rebuilt. We're also going to put in a new bleed valve while we're at it. We'll just leave that loose at the moment. Okay, the next step is to put the brake pads into the brake pad carrier. The flat side goes onto the anti-chatter slides and they just sit in just like that. So what we'll do is lubricate. We've got some ceramic lubricant for brake pads. So anywhere there's a contact point on the slide here, sorry, on the anti-chatter here or on the slides for the holder, we'll lubricate those so those can slide in easily. Also, we'll put where the piston comes in and out, It's around here, and where these touch points are, we'll lubricate those as well, so it'll move it nice and easily when the caliper is. It's important though not to get any of the brake fluid or grease onto the actual wear material that goes onto the disc. You don't need to use very much, just a light coating. So touch points, and you can see where the touch points were with the previous pads. You can see the little marks. And then where the brake pad sits, just put a bit of grease in those areas too. And the brake pad just slips in, just in like that. And that's how it sits in the carrier. Same with the other side. And then the brake pads are in the carrier. Now they've got the brake pads in, we bring the carrier and the caliper together. On the caliper, there are grooves, and that's where these slides fit in. So it just clips over on both sides, and then you put these little locking pins back in. This is the way it goes in, the orientation. The large side of the brake pad carrier goes next to where the piston is, sits in like this. Just have to push the brake pads in slightly, just make sure they're level with the carrier so they fit into the caliper. And sits over like that. So there's a new rebuild. And onto the right caliper, same thing. Piston's been cleaned up. There's a little bit of corrosion on there which I can't get off, but that's way back in the bottom of the piston, so it's only this top bit here which goes in and out of the caliper, so it should be okay. Pop the dust seal in, again keeping it square so it doesn't twist. And this one's been rebuilt. Very simple process with these types of calipers. Okay, onto the carrier. And we'll put a bit of lubrication where all the touch points are for the brake pads. We flip it over and bring it together with the caliper. Again, high side, low side. High side goes in the same direction as where the piston goes into the caliper. And that's the second one done. And the final thing we'll put in is the new bleeder nipple and a new dust cover. We'll put the locking plates down through here when they're positioned on the disc itself, and then the locking pins that go into the little holes.